doing in the working groups across the RIC, and also to offer you a little tantaliser as to something exciting that's coming our way come August. My name's Maureen McNaughton, I'm from West Lothian, and until November of last year I was coordinating and leading the literacy work stream in the RIC. I gave that job up and we're looking for a replacement. The advert's live and closes today, so if you have a burning desire to lead actually some really, really exciting initiatives, then please go onto My Job Scotland and submit your application. Can I just say that what I would ask you to do today is to come here with an open mind, because some of the initiatives that you'll be seeing are firmly rooted in a particular sector, but what I would be asking you to do is to think, is there potential in that initiative that I could take that and I could take it and shape it in a different way and make it work within our sector? Or should I be feeding back to the RIC and saying, actually that's what one of your working groups needs to be doing next year, is looking at this for the, for the sector that you're working in. There will also be some of the things that you see in here today will be a straightforward takeaway for you. You'll lift them and you'll take them back to school and you'll think, that's exactly what we need, and somebody else has done the hard work, and you will be able to use it. Going to stick to a timer because we're getting pressure from other quarters. So I'll be a wee taste of what we've got to offer and a wee tantaliser. If you want to find out more, get in touch with the presenters. I'm going to hand over to Marion, who's going to do an intro, and then the team will work their way through.
Thanks, Maureen. Thank you very much. Hi, I'm Marion Cochrane. I'm the Literacy and English Pedagogy Officer for West Lothian. So I've just started a couple of weeks ago, so I'm delighted to be here and be part of the RIC. And I'd just like to share what we're going to do in this workshop. So we've got 3 work streams that have been working now on the second phase, and we've also got one new pilot that I'd like to talk to you about very briefly from the Scottish Book Trust that I'm really excited about. And it's going to take the form of, the first person speaking is going to be Susie, and she's going to share about the early years vocabulary, and then Carol's going to talk about the moderating writing pack with some of the Quamsos helping, developing a reading culture, and then finally I'm going to talk about using the First Minister's Reading Challenge to plan the evaluation toolkit and a reading accreditation scheme that's coming from the Scottish Book Trust. So very quickly I'm going to hand over now to Susie, who's going to share about her work. Thank you, Susie.
Hi everyone, I'm Susie Wakely. I'm an educational psychologist with Falkirk, and I just want to talk a little bit about when we got together in the RIC. We decided the best idea was to try to pull together all the good practice that was going on across the regional collaborative in terms of early vocabulary development, and it fell very naturally into a framework. And the framework has got different sections. So we've got a section on readiness, making sure your school and your practitioners are ready. So some tools under that section. We've got a section on tracking, tracking and assessment. We have a section on interventions. So lots of ideas of different things you can do to actually develop early vocabulary. We've got some practical training materials for practitioners. So that we've actually got some early literacy workshops, for example, under that, and we've got some information around case studies and research, and that's all going to be available as part of this whole framework. It's an ongoing process, and we want to be adding good practice to the framework. So I'm going to ask some of my colleagues to come and present some snippets to you from the framework. So I've got Claire McLean, a speech and language therapist, come to talk to us about the LIFT approach. I'll speak a little bit about what work Educational Psychology have done in partnership with Denny Early Childcare Centre, and Claire from West Lothian is going to talk to us about the West Lothian Tracker. Thanks very much.
Good morning, everybody. I just appeared from start dancing in a minute. My name's Claire McLean. I'm one of the speech and language therapists. I've been involved with the RIC over the last year or so. I'm just going to give you a little snippet about our LIFT approach which we use in nurseries, and it's all about developing language, and of course part of developing language is the focus on vocabulary. LIFT stands for Language is Fun Together. I should have said that. So we've got lots of approaches that we know, they're very evidence-based, that we know help to develop vocabulary. They include making sure that we've got children doing really good listening. So our Teaching Children to Listen programme is becoming well established in nurseries. We promote lots of narrative work. This is the nursery narrative. I was going to say fun with narrative, but that's into primary 1. And then of course we've got the word aware approach, which we use in early years and we use in primary school as well. But what we found is that these approaches that are directly working on vocabulary and language skills, they only really work if we've got really good adult-child interaction strategies in place. So hence our bottom picture there. This is our LIFT umbrella, which helps us to see all the elements that come together in LIFT. So we have developing the visual environment in the nursery or the early years setting, the spoken environment, and then all our language interventions which add on there and enhance language development. But the spoken language, as I said, this is the really crucial bit that we have to get right first. And we kind of travel in that direction. So we know that parent responsiveness or adult responsiveness to children makes the difference. So it's getting that right. It's not about bombarding children with lots of language and vocabulary. It's about responding to them and how we do that. And really we want to share those skills with practitioners, make sure that we're working in a way with strategies that really set those good foundations for language building, but sharing that with parents as well, having them in for stay and play sessions, coaching sessions, sharing our good practice. And these are some of the strategies that we would use in our adult-child interaction development. So it's all about reducing the number of questions we ask, for instance, reducing our directiveness in a situation, but really responding to the child, imitating, copying, repeating, describing what they're doing. So we practice that as a staff group, and we use video feedback to help us get really good at that. So this is one of our reflection tools that we've been using, and it seems to work really well. We've had good response from practitioners. And it's all about looking at your mini video, your 3-minute video, and checking that you're doing all these good, helpful strategies here, face to face, letting the child lead, giving them extra time to talk and so forth. We want to reduce this section, which we know can be unhelpful for language building, but really improve our copying the child, repeating and adding to what they've said, talking about what they're doing. And then we set goals at the end, little incremental goals that we want to work on in our next interaction. So this is just a bit of a snapshot of what we're doing. Obviously there's lots more going on, but I hope that gives you a wee flavour of what's happening. And that's just our tying into building the ambition slide there. Okay, thank you.
Just one slide. Hi, I'm Claire Kane from West Lothian, part of the Early Years Central Support Team, and I'm just going to give you, I know Maureen's got a BDI on me, so it's a 2-minute...
8 seconds, Claire, so that's
2-minute kind of flavour of how we assess and track progress in West Lothian. And I suppose that the big thing is we created this digital tracker that you see a wee snapshot of down here to track progress specifically in literacy, numeracy and health and wellbeing. And I know this group's focusing on literacy, so we have 10 sort of core literacy statements, if you like, and sitting behind this, it's not a tick box exercise, sitting behind this is a big rationale statement which shows how this whole approach links into our pedagogy, curriculum guidance and national guidance documents. Another big part, another reason for us doing this, the purpose behind it, was to really upskill our practitioners to to get them really sharpen their focus on observations and planning. I'm not conscious of that alarm ringing over there. So basically what it involves is 3 times in a child lifespan at nursery they have to make a red, amber, green judgment. There's lots of support around how those judgments are made. We've got lots of moderation guidance, CLPL activity, networking activity to help practitioners with that. But what that then shows up is a real pattern. You can see patterns emerging. So at the moment, for example, Kath and I have been out working with some of our practitioners, getting them to look at the data they've put in here. What does that show us? And for example, if you look at literacy, this is fake data down here, but this analysis of data is actually real, taken from one of our establishments in the last month. It shows progress over time, but you can actually see that where there's, oh gosh, we've got a whole chunk of children still sitting at amber at this point in the preschool year for that particular strand for vocabulary development, for example. Why is that? Is that the user group? Or is it because we're not planning the right experiences? So it's forcing practitioners to really hone in on why it is, analyse the learning, and then it's pushing them into progression pathways to look at planning appropriate experience. So it's really sharpening focus and planning for next steps, and help them to drive improvement in that area forward. And I'm going to stop there. But there is a wee bit, I've got an overview of that slide is there for you to take away as a wee overview if you're interested. So.
I appreciate we're out of time, so I'm just going to say a couple of things. I won't really get time to tell you much about the project that's happening in Denny Nursery, but if you get a hold of this presentation, the Vox Pops are embedded into it, so you'll be able to listen to both the nursery manager and Julie, one of the practitioners who's worked in the nursery. What happened in Denny Nursery, just very quickly,
hello, my name is
just trying to get this to go on, was we worked as Educational Psychology Service, we worked in partnership with the practitioners there to actually develop a very specific practice guidelines that was for their setting. And you do that by working together with, collaborating together with practitioners. It's that co-construction that's really, really powerful. And that means then that the practitioners themselves, yourselves in your own settings, you'll want to tweak and talk and share all your good practice because you've developed it yourselves and you've developed it in partnership with maybe speech and language therapy, occupational therapy, educational psychology, all your partners. Makes for a really rich experience all around that collaboration. We're hoping that mini pilot project in Denny now will be scaled up across Falkirk, and we're going to work as Educational Psychology Service in partnership now with the early years team, along with practitioners from Denny that actually know exactly what they're talking about. And if you've had a chance to see, Julie's got a wonderful display up in the early years, the other room, of all her wonderful materials that she now has developed herself around storytelling in the early years, and it's really, really exciting. We as Psychology want to support the early years team in that project rollout. That's a strength that we have, that we can bring to the table, because we don't want to lose the essence of what really worked for Denny, and that was the fact that they developed their own specific practice guidelines that suits their setting, and I think that's really important. One last thing to say, across early vocabulary in the framework.
In the middle of the hall.
I know, because I know you've heard before.
I'm going to turn that inside out the next time I come down.
So what is working, what we noticed in this framework, what's working across the whole of the framework? You want to develop early vocabulary, you need rich experiences. You need positive adult-child interactions. You've got to bring your families in, you need family engagement, you need to be opening up your settings and bringing parents in and letting them see the good work that you're doing. You need to be really, really good at assessment, because Denny Nursery are actually developing their own tracking around those foundational skills in literacy that sits very well with what you're doing in West Lothian as well, because that's going to really key you into where you need to intervene, where your gaps are. Work with your partners. All your partners want to work with you, and I think we have a much richer experience when we can collaborate together. And there's something about co-constructing materials, interventions, training, assessment that is specific for your context, because you know your context really well. And we want, as your partners, to support you in getting it right for your context, and that's all.
Thank you. Sorry to be the stand at the back with the timer, but if we don't do this, you won't get a wee flavour of everything that's happening. I'm going to hazard a guess that you sitting here that for you and your school, one of the major challenges that you have is maintaining the validity of the teacher professional judgment within your school. It's something that we do not want to be giving up on. And it was with that in mind that whenever we started to pull together the working groups, the literacy working groups, that teacher professional judgment came really high on the agenda. And with that in mind, one of our working groups started to look at developing materials that would be supporting you in your school and that ongoing challenge of securing and cementing your teacher professional judgment. And Susan and Carol are going to share with you some of the work of that group.
We were one of the very first groups to start working on a project. So it's a way back, possibly about, I don't know, well over a year ago. And what we thought was really important and key to the success of the RIC was that we would spend time making sure that any work we did would be something that was of use to people who were in classrooms. And there was no point in people sitting in rooms deciding what might be appropriate or suitable for us to work on. It was really important that practitioners drove that and guided that. So our group was 2 QAMSOs from each of the local authorities. So each of those QAMSOs were people in classrooms, teaching every day in their classrooms, but they had a little bit of extra training in that they'd been involved in the national programme round about moderation and assessment. So the QAMSOs that we got together, 2 from each authority, ranged from early level right up to secondary school, 3rd and 4th level, and they as a group in those early days talked about what would be of use for folk in classrooms. And what we decided was, thinking about teacher professional judgment, that it would be very useful for us to have something that was a resource that folk in classrooms or in their schools could just pick up and use. So a number of different component parts were decided that would be useful in that. A PowerPoint to set people up, some evidence that was already moderated and illustrated across the levels with the teachers' comments as to why they felt that that was a particular achievement of a level. A sketch note which included the range of evidence that people might want to have a look at. Lots of different individual activities and things that people could use in classrooms or in groups within their schools. It's now been uploaded to the literacy blog along with an animation which tells the story of how the group got together, and it's called a Powtoon. Susan introduced that to me very recently, so hopefully we'll get to see that, and it will also let you see the links to the blog and where exactly all of these resources are, so that you've got a straightforward, this is what you do if you want to use any of these resources, here's how you would do it without you having to waste too much time. I'm Carol Turnbull, I should have said that at the start. I'm one of the Falkirk Education Managers. Susan Thompson is also a Falkirk Education Manager. And Catherine has been kind enough, she's from Riverside Primary in West Lothian, she's been kind enough to come along and she'll talk to you a little bit about what she's been doing actually in school and actually using these resources. So Susan, if all goes to plan, if it doesn't, I'll be speaking again in a minute. I'm going to hand over to Susan to see if we can see that Powtoon just now to let you see the journey of our group.
So as Carol said, it's on the blog. If you just Google Forth Valley and West Lothian Collaborative, it brings up the RIC blog as the first or second search. Okay. And then there's different pages for all the work that's going on in the blog, but we're under the literacy one. And it's, as I said, developing the teacher's professional judgment. So this link here gives you all the resources that we developed. So there's a 2-hour session of CLPL. That detail in there gives you tasks to do within the CLPL. It gives you the PowerPoint for the CLPL. It gives you exemplars of achievement of a level at 1st, 2nd and 3rd reading, and as Carol said, hopefully the sound works. If it doesn't, there's a button on the back of the speaker that I need to turn. But the Powtoon shows. There we go.
Catherine, it's great that she's come along today because obviously she's someone who's already using this and thinking about it, so I'm going to hand over to Catherine just to say a little bit more about that.
Right, well, as mentioned, I'm one of the West Lothian Palmso for reading, and in that role I coordinate moderation across the cluster, and particularly I've been taking it forward in my school using this resource. But to create this resource, I was one of, I think, 8 people that got together frequently across the year, and then when we couldn't get together, we met through the Microsoft Teams to collaborate. And that collaboration, as Susan suggested, ended up with this 2-hour, we're going to flip it, 2-hour collegiate activity session, or CLP thing. So it includes this PowerPoint that you can use with all of the activities in it, including pre and post session assessment, the aims, talks about assessment, types of assessment that you can gather, and included in it, in the suite, is also a sketch note that one of our team created that talks about all the different types of assessment that you can gather in all the 4 contexts of learning, and it talks in particular about the fact that you don't have to gather together a mountain of evidence. You can be selective about your evidence. I think that one of the really powerful things, though, for everybody is the fact that what we've also included, and there's some exemplars down there, is exemplars of what work looks like when children attain a level at the different benchmarks. So we've got 1st, 2nd, and 3rd level exemplars of reading activities, including holistic activities that you can do with the children, the teachers can do with their kids, and you can use as part of your moderation CLPO that you can deliver.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. So the way ahead, I know, Maureen, the alarm has gone, so she'll be very brief. The way ahead for this group is for us to encourage other people to join that. It was a small group and things evolve over time, so we're hoping to broaden that out to add in a few more people to that. So if it's something you're interested in, something you'd like to contribute to as we move forward and think what would be useful for people in classrooms to just take and use, then please let us know that. So thank you very much for listening, and hopefully some of that will be of use to you.
There's
Thank you.
a few paper copies down there for those of you who want to have a look at it before you go online.
Thank you.
They were looking at developing a reading culture, and we had colleagues from all of the authorities across the RIC coming to the table, but coming from very, very different starting points. We had some schools that were just at very early stages of setting up their reading culture, and other schools who were really quite far down that line. And Jackie Burns, who's from Stirling Council, is going to share with you today, together with Emma McFarland, who's from Clark's. They're going to share with you what it was that they did in these groups, and hopefully this will give you further food for thought.
Thank you, Maureen. My name is Emma McFarland. I'm part of the Improving Outcomes team with Clackmannanshire Council. As Maureen said, Jackie started today in the spirit of collaboration. We're sharing the presentation today. I think though it's important to realise that it's not just about the people speaking today though as well. Obviously there are people involved who are here today too. So if you're involved in developing a positive reading culture, raise your hand. So we have people across the 4 authorities involved. And one of the things we did try to do was include all 4 authorities in the model of this group. So the sessions we attended we've had 1 session in each of the 4 authorities, and our last session in Dedridge in West Lothian with Yvonne telling us lovely stories and bringing along her tree, which is at the back. You'll find out a bit more of that later. So as you know, as Maureen introduced, we really tried hard to have representation across the 4 authorities. We've also tried hard to have involvement from primaries and secondaries. We've been really keen to have time to talk, really important to have time to talk, professional dialogue, getting the opportunities to sit down and talk about what's going well in our authorities, share what's going well in our authorities, and also think about what we can learn from each other across the 4 authorities. So as I said, time to talk. We also had an online space that people were able to use to share things. We had a lot of discussion around additionality and what we could add to this group that would support the colleagues in their journey. We had really wanted to think about research and the impact of research and how that informed our practice. We also were really keen that it was teacher driven, so we started off as the group, the main group, and then we invited colleagues from across the 4 authorities to join us. And then our group grew, so we ended up with our group of 6 and then 16 practitioners across the 4 authorities. And you'll see from our lovely photos here just some examples of what we've been up to as we've progressed throughout the year. So we had some meetings in between, but the 4 main sessions, and just to give you a little bit of insight to what these sessions included, and then we'll invite some of the practitioners up to share with you. So we obviously had a spotlight on the different authorities across the four sessions. Barney's shouting at me already, sorry Barney. So what, just some of the things that we did lots of things, but to give you an idea, we had we had involvement from SciPic around the model for improvement. We had a session and it really helped us to hone in on our changes. Each practitioner decided to engage in a test of change across the year. Some people everyone's at a different stage in relation to that. We're all in a journey. So this really helped us to home in on exactly what we were really thinking about. And we had a researcher, I don't say the name correct either, Dr. Sarah McGoon, and Sarah's work is, a lot of research into promoting a positive reading culture, reading for enjoyment, and lots of resources that she has online as well, and that was really helpful for us to think about implications for our own practice, practical changes and what that looked like in the classroom. And then lovely Yvonne and her storytelling gear there, entertaining us in our last session, which also included a marketplace opportunities for practitioners to share. So I'd like to invite 2 of the 16 practitioners to join us today. Michael, are you starting today? Michael and Mary, who've got some boards, and we've also got Michaela with her board here. We've also got some of the work from Shire. Obviously, we won't be able to see it all, but it is there if you'd like to see it at the end. Okay, thank you.
So my name's Michael Donald. I'm an English teacher at Bonus Academy. If you have a second, that's a wee board there. Really, our test of change, what we're looking at was trying to improve reading for enjoyment, because anything tells you reading attainment and that are intrinsically linked. So basically, from discussions at the group and the things we really picked out were, in terms of reading areas, access to quality reading areas for our pupils, in terms of the library, how accessible and how well set up was it for our pupils, and then generally just their motivation and their perceptions of reading and how could we change them. So the first thing we thought about was essentially we're getting them to the library, they're having to sit in chairs or having to sit at tables. Any reader, very few people do that. You'd sit on the couch, you'd sit on the bed, whatever. So we managed to source some money and we managed to make quality reading areas. So they've got bean bags, they've got wee lamps, they've got couches, blankets, things like that. So just give them a quality, relaxing area to read. The second thing was probably one of the biggest changes we made, was we thought really about the majority of our pupils, how familiar are they with authors, so therefore how easy is it for them to find a book, and especially for reluctant readers it might be hard for them to find what they like. So speaking with Yvonne and people, we managed to get the go ahead to change the library and totally organise it by genre. The idea of that is that streaming services, everything they do these days, that's how it's arranged, so it made it a lot easier for them to find their way around the library. People's made the signage, everything was made by them and they really liked it. The third thing was just about how we framed the library. I've done it myself as an English teacher, often saying to them, come on, you should be reading, you should be reading. All of that's really negative language and got negative connotations, so I really tried to change and have almost like reward time, or they work towards achieving a library period, or even when refocusing them when they should be in the library, it was like, come on, no, now's the time to enjoy your book, not you should be reading. And that was a really positive, and generally it's worked really well. If you're interested in figures you can go have a look, but reading for enjoyment's increased. Almost all of them enjoyed the library being sorted by genre. Almost all of them said that they enjoyed accessing the reading area. As I said upstairs, one of the weird things was that the boys engaged with the reading area a lot more. Couldn't work out to begin with, but since finding out is that a lot of the girls don't like sitting in the beanbags when they're wearing skirts. So even that has been a simple solution of let them move them to somewhere where they feel comfortable. But just 2 things to finish on. One of them's from the pupils, and one of them actually probably came out from discussions. First one is one of the pupils' feedback was, I enjoy library periods because we get out of doing work. Now you could look at that in the sense of they're skiving. I would rather look at it in the sense of they don't see reading as work, so that's been a big positive. Last one, I wish I could say it was me who said it, I actually don't know if it was someone within a discussion, and it was the idea of we can't just tell them to enjoy reading, we need to create opportunities for them to find out by themselves. and that would be a big thing that I say we took out from the group. But in terms of the whole experience, it's just been really rewarding.
Hi, I'm Mary Gill and I'm from West Quarter Primary in Falkirk, and I'm going to tell you about the small test of change I did in my play-based primary 2-1 classroom. So we had a great reading area set up, but unfortunately the children weren't choosing to use it because the children choose what they do. So I had to find a way to get children to come and enjoy reading by themselves without me telling them to. So the first thing I did was I consulted with the children and I observed them, and they gave me lots of information. Like, they thought there was too many books to choose from, there's too many things going on. The best one was why would I choose to read when there is a sand pit in the classroom? So we looked at fewer books for more engagement, and I set up a new area with a lovely armchair, but we only had 6 fiction and 6 non-fiction books in the classroom library, but there's multiple copies of each, and I would read them regularly to the children so that they're familiar with them. And there's QR codes up as well with me reading them too, so the children could access them. And it had a huge impact on the children. And at the beginning, hardly any children were ever choosing to read. But actually now, lots of children every single day choose to go and read. And they love reading together, 2 or 3 of them together, reading out the same book aloud. So that's gone really well. So the vocabulary is also improved in the classroom that we've discovered, and they're getting words from the books, and they are changed about quite a lot. There is a QR code down here. If you want to actually find out more about it, you can scan that in, and it's got videos of them reading and enjoying reading. The one other thing I wanted to say was that one of the things they said was over half the children said nobody read to them at home at all, ever, which was quite worrying for me. So I made up QR codes and sent them home for the children for me reading, so that the children could scan on their parents' tablet or phone at home and be read to by me, but that also modelled to parents how they could read to the children. So it's had a really great impact on the reading culture in the class. Thank you.
I know we're out of time. Just quickly to say though, the purpose of our group now is that it will grow next year, and we're really keen to invite some more colleagues to join us. So if anybody would like to do that, then please let us know, because as I say, we're looking for opportunity.
Not quite finished, because we've got one other thing that I want to add. I mean, you're beginning to get a flavour of some of the fantastic work that's been going on, and some of this, just the small things that have made a huge difference to some of the young people that we've been working with across the collaborative. I've asked Marion to share at the very end with us an exciting new initiative that's coming on stream, and as a RIC we have agreed to pilot this. We did so very bravely, but now what we need are volunteers to engage in this pilot. Marion will tell you about what the pilot is, and hopefully as you're sitting there you'll be thinking, that's just exactly what we need, that's where we need to be going next, that's how we need to be sharpening the focus on what we're doing in our school to raise the profile of literacy.
So very quickly, I just want to share this. I've been part of a working group that's looking at it with the Scottish Book Trust, Education Scotland, and what is coming next is we're going to be having a reading school, and it's really quite exciting, and it's about accreditation for each of the schools. So if you think about the eco flag, it's that kind of idea, and each school will be working towards reading accreditation and really valuing being a reading school. And you can come in at bronze level, so if you're just starting out on your reading journey, or you might be working towards silver, or you might be working towards gold. Now it's really in its infancy, but we're very excited about it. In West Lothian we've been asked to pilot it, and also this has been extended to the RIC, so we're delighted if anyone is interested in becoming involved in this. We're going along to a meeting in the next few weeks to discuss what it's going to look like. So please be enthused about this and take this back to your school. I'm very aware that we're out of time. Just want to go back a little tiny bit, and please ask as you start next year to look at this, which is the First Minister's Reading Challenge Planning and Evaluation Toolkit. It's a great place to start. as you go into a new year. Where are you on your journey? Look at the challenge questions, look at the activities, and it really is helpful. Thank you very much, everybody.
Huge thank you not only to Marion but to everybody else who has shared with you some of the exciting initiatives that they've been involved in. I can claim no credit whatsoever for the beautiful leaves which you have in your chair. Jackie, would you like to tell us what we've to do with our leaves?
If you have any thoughts or you'd like to be involved, please put your comments on here and your emails and we'll get in touch with you.
Siobhan's looking for questions, so if anybody's got questions that they would like to ask the panel, there are spare cards down here, and it just leaves me to say an enormous thank you to everybody who's contributed today. I think you'll agree there's some wonderful work going on out there, and thank you very much for having the courage and the confidence to share it with us. Thank you, and thank you for listening. Thank you.